Good afternoon, folks. I'm Jason Salzman. Welcome to Native News Today. Let's talk about some of the stuff we ran down this week. First off, storm spotting. The National Weather Service came to the Muskogee Creek Nation and informed the Emergency Management Office about that, and they're going to be getting the citizens the information on storm spotting during the storm season. So wonderful story there. Also talked with the Human Development Committee about the Summer Youth Employment Program here at the Muskogee Creek Nation. A great program. We'll let you in on a little bit more about that. Also, we were there for the first meeting of the new Constitutional Convention Committee taking democracy to the citizens of the Muskogee Creek Nation. And lastly, we'll take a look at World War II from a Muskogee Creek Nation perspective. All that and more on this week's episode of Native News Today. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this message.
Here we are in Club Trifecta, and it looks like there's dance-off going on. And there's MC Butts looking like he's about to butt in somewhere he don't belong. It looks like MC Butts just got beat down, and I knew there was something smelly about this dance-off competition, and it was MC Butts. Now Club Trifecta is a great place to be healthy and get your groove on.
Living in Oklahoma, you always got to watch out for dangerous storms. And with that in mind, the National Weather Service came to the Muskogee Creek Nation to give some information on storm spotting to the emergency management team.
Today we're just conducting our annual storm spotter training for Okmulgee County. And we're basically just doing a refresher for those that attend that have been to storm spotter training before, and for the newcomers we're getting a lot of information to them, so we have more and more eyes out in the field that are able to identify these features that you see within the clouds that suggest tornado potential. So does that cloud feature suggest tornado potential or not? So it's basically a class that helps people safely watch clouds as they approach their communities, and promotes them to get that information not only to the Weather Service but also to the local emergency management officials who are actually hosting this event today. Basically, rotation within the cloud typically precedes tornado events, and that's an important clue to look for. Are the clouds rotating? Because generally if a tornado is going to occur within the storm, it's going to occur from a rotation within the cloud itself. If there is large hail in the storm, and not all tornadic storms have large hail, which is the myth. Not all tornadic storms are going to have large hail. They're going to have probably some hail, but some don't even have any hail. But the large hail is going to occur generally just downstream of where the tornado forms in the storm. So it's going to be close to where a tornado may be. Right. So if you have tennis ball size hail, that probably means you're dealing with a storm that has deep rotation within the updraft. But it doesn't necessarily mean the storm's going to have a tornado in it. So there's a lot of cloud features within the storm environment that look like tornadoes. Right. But if there's not deep, strong, persistent rotation in the cloud, it's probably not a tornadic feature. It may look like a tornado, but it's probably not a tornado unless there's deep, persistent rotation in that part of the storm, or the clouds in that part of the storm. Well, there's a lot of advantages to getting more and more people out that are able to identify these storm features and these cloud features. Radar is excellent. The radars we use nowadays are excellent, much improved from what we used a decade or two ago, but they're not perfect, and they never will be perfect. So the more trained eyes we have in the field that kind of identify these features and know what they're looking at within the storm structure, that information, when it's relayed to the Weather Service, when it's relayed to the emergency management officials, it's going to be useful because it's going to supplement the radar data. So if we've got both pieces of information, we're going to be able to make informed and very good decisions. So the more trained eyes we have out there, the better off we're all going to be as these storms affect the community in the spring and summer months.
Storm spotter training within all of our jurisdiction is important. The purpose for it is so that we can have eyes and ears out there to see what the clouds are doing, to notice the rotation within the clouds, so that we can report back to county emergency management officials, National Weather Service, so that they can get that advanced warning out there to protect lives during tornado season. We had several different communities that were there last night, and we will just we'll pass the information along to the ones that weren't. The volunteers that we're looking for, we will brief them, give them instructions, for when storm season gets here, so that they know what to look for and that they can be safe.
A truly historical happening is going on in the Muskogee Creek Nation as we speak. That is the Constitutional Convention Committee, and they met this last week, and basically this is taking the government, taking democracy to the citizens, and it's the purest form of it, and we were glad to be at the meeting and show you a little bit about this process.
This Constitutional Convention meeting is the first meeting is organizational meeting, and basically coming together and laying some foundation for what we want to do for the citizens. And it's a historic event. Constitutional Convention, we're talking about amending our Constitution to where our people are going to be having to live with quite some time. It's going to impact everybody in the Creek Nation, and it's just for me, it's certainly an honor to be representing some people, and so being somewhat a history buff, looking back in our history, the Creek Nation history, it's really important, and like I said, to be nominated and to be part of this commission, Constitutional Commission, it's really an honor, and I always reflect back what I'm doing today. I see faces of our people back in the 1800s, even the Charioteers, where their governments were dissolved then, and then back in were set here in Oklahoma, and their governments were reestablished, only to be dissolved again in the early 1900s. And so since our Constitution come back in the 70s, and then to be amended, it's really an honor to. The Constitutional Convention is really important because of the people, the citizens, get to have an opportunity to amend their Constitution to form it the way they believe that our Constitution should be in the best interest of our people. And I think it's more so now because of all the sovereignty issues that are out among the other tribes, the 500 and so plus tribes across the nation. It's really important to modernize, I guess would be the word, to modernize our Constitution to fit our people and to fit into the aspect of sovereignty. And now that the people have an opportunity to form their own Constitution, this commission is dedicated to that purpose, is to get out to the public hearings and inform the people, our people, that you have the opportunity to form your Constitution and how you see that you want your people and your government to act. We'll be going out to public hearings. Our next organizational meeting in March 31st will decide on our public hearings and the dates and how we want to go out to the people, get that information out there, get the opportunities for them to write our amendments to the Constitution. We want to be totally transparent. Our meetings are open to all of the citizens. Every time we hold a meeting, it's there for them. Sit in our meeting as we conduct our meeting, and then they themselves can go back and talk with representatives and other people on how they feel that their amendment should be written. The Constitutional Commission is just the administrative part of the arm of the people. We're not dictating to what goes into the Constitution. We're not limiting everybody any amendment to the Constitution. We're just here as the administrative arm of the Constitution. We are the administrative arm of the people, the citizenry. We realize the Constitutional Commission realizes there are some citizens that would prefer that they speak their language, the Muskogee Creek language, and we will have interpreters out there in our public hearings to make them feel more comfortable. And I know, coming from a language-speaking family, that they prefer that they speak in their language, and that's how they communicate better, and that's how they get their feelings across, and their heartfelt feelings, and their intellectual feelings across if they speak their own language. So we will have interpreters out there in public hearings to do that, to perform those interpretations. I feel that Muskogee Creek Nation's government should be representative of the people. The council, everything should be geared towards the people. The people are the Creek Nation, and the people that have been put in place to be the leaders, they serve the people. They are a servant of the people, and that's always been I'm getting my personal opinions here. Is that?
It's all right. That's no problem. Started and that's
Okay.
in mind there.
That's always been my opinion, is that leaders that have been elected, been nominated and selected, they're not to be served. They're here to serve our people, and that's been in history. That's the way our people have always been. We served the people in leadership. Always served a function for the people.
One of the most important times in a young person's life is when they get their first job. It teaches them a lot of responsibility, learn about going to work, making your wage, and things like that. And that's the main thing about the Summer Youth Employment Program here at the Muskogee Creek Nation. A wonderful program, and we want to let everybody know how it goes down here.
We feel that it helps kids, become independent. Like you said, have their own source of income, and gives them a sense of responsibility too, as well, as far as learning good work habits, being on time, turning in timesheets, and or making sure they get to us whenever we go by and pick them up. Just things like that, as far as their age, because it starts at 16 to 21, and we feel at 16 that's a good time to start getting some responsibility, built up in their life.
Very good.
We pay for the wages. You would fall under our workers' comp if something should happen to you. We take care of that. We have like an on-the-job injury report that gets turned into the counselor. If they have to go to the hospital or anything, we take care of all of that. All the bills get sent here to us. Timesheets, you're responsible for that, to make sure your supervisor turns them into the counselor, because we have counselors that cover all our counties and go out and pick up timesheets. They have to be 16 to 21. They have to turn 16 before our program starts this year, which will be June the 2nd. They can't turn 22 before the end of our program, which is July 25th. We started January 28th, and we go through March 28th. So like I said, that gives everybody plenty of time and they have to call in. And we ask that they call in because that kind of gives them an interview process, to go through that, because there are some kids that, just knowing their social security number, some of them kids, they don't know that, but, as the years go by and, they get the hang of it. We send out a packet to them, and it has like 5 different sheets that them, and if they're under 18, their parents have to sign and send back. And then we ask for copies of like their citizenship, Social Security, transcript, a copy of their insurance card, should something happen to them. And after all that paperwork gets turned in and they're completed, then they get notified that their application's been complete and that we will place them in a job. And then probably a few weeks after that, they get a placement letter just stating, where they work, and we ask them to go visit their supervisor so they can kind of get to know them, and then what time, they need to be there and how they need to dress and things like that. And we usually have 2 years ago, we had, it was like a workshop type deal at the different Votex, because it was kind of neutral for most of our towns. And we had them sign timesheets, and we went over like work ethics, dress, habits, as far as, what you can and can't wear, and just went over things like that so they would be aware and be ready for when the first day of work starts. Call our 1-800 number, which is 1-800-482-1979, and then ask for the Summer Youth Program or Employment Training, and they get sent to our office. Or they can call one of us directly, which is 732-7775 for Cindy, and 732-7776 for Sabrina. And like I said, we ask that they do call because it's a lot easier for us, because we're still processing a lot of paperwork. And we're taking those applications until the end of this month, March 28th. And we take them from, we say 8 to 5, but there's always somebody here, if it's before 8 or after 5. So we have a bunch of, I'll say females, I'm sure there's males, but they want to go into like the nursing field, or even just medical terminology, which we do place them in the clinics, and it just depends on which department they may be placed in or they request, and they can do that on their application. Just let us know, if they're in college, or I'd say as far as to starting college, like I said, what field they're going to go into. And we do have we go anywhere from the schools, doctor's offices, and I'll say Muskogee because that's my area, like the BIA offices. There's a lot of different fields there. trying to think, city offices and not just outside work, you know, as far as inside clerical. So like I said, there's, you're right, there's just a range of different fields to go into. Some kids it affects them, you know, and some it's really hard to get through to them. But the ones that you do get through, like you said, or like I told you earlier, I'm a product of summer youth, and so that was a good thing. You know, the program's still going, it's still strong, and you know, we just try to make it better.
You can go a lot of places and see World War II and take a look back at some of the archive footage, but I bet this is the only place that you can do it from a Muskogee Creek Nation perspective. Go ahead, Jared.
Up by daylight and looked out and I couldn't see anything, just dust. And explosions were going off all around us. We were in an artillery barrage. I guess maybe that was the first time I really prayed.
Finally a word got out. This boy said, this is a group that's going to make an invasion. Next day, well, sure enough, Eisenhower came and he talked. He said, I feel honored that you were picked to make this invasion. And then people were, they were volunteering more than any other race. There was no animosity toward the service, you know, they were really volunteering. And you grew up fast in the service. I will tell you, that military life is rough. In the 30s, I was going to school at Kellerville, and so we had ball team, you know, and then during the summer we had a independent team, so we played ball all the way around.
Of course, when we had Depression, we weren't starving because we had everything we needed on the farm, with the exception money. Money we didn't have, but growing everything that we needed while we was well, you know, provided.
I took agriculture when I was up there at Chilocco, and for about a year or two I was the president of the Future Farmers of America there at the Chilocco Indian School, and then I played, I was in the band while I was there too. I learned to play the saxophone.
Well, I was still in high school. I graduated in '41 from high school, and we just were not aware of that. We were more interested in whether Preston was going to beat Schulter in a ball game.
There was nothing else to really do in those days, except, they had church meetings. Oh my God, they really did have church meetings. I mean, people really went to church.
An Indian man that had little money, and he'd have ball teams in the summer, you know, down to church, down to Big Sikta. And we'd go off, every week we'd go off somewhere and play these other churches, you know.
And then Sunday morning, people, they have cars. They used to ride horses mostly. And you could hear people walking, coming down the road. They would be singing. And at the school, they would have a place there for them to have church.
Then we had our little old hometown. They had entertainments, and through the week, on every Saturday night, we had what we call street dance, and that's where I learned how to dance, and I enjoyed it.
I formed a little dance band while I was there too. I had one drummer and one flute guitar player. I had a guitar player and then a bass fiddle player and myself. There were just 5 of us, and we just get together on the weekend or somewhere we could get away from everybody, where we wouldn't bother anybody. We would play to our heart's content. We didn't use no music, we just played by ear.
At the age of about between 14 and 15, I learned to barber. So I started doing that. I charged students 10 cents a haircut.
There's another Indian guy around here had money, and he had a basketball team. And we played basketball all winter. We had pretty good success too. We had good teams.
Every church brought their own set of tents, and they could cover this area here all over, just nothing but tents to come into the church convention and association. Those 2 were the biggest meetings, and they went for, I guess, a whole week. They'd come in first of the week and stayed clear through Sunday, and they really, well, same way the other way too. Storm dances. They had storm dances between the church and the stop. You didn't have too much to do.
And in those days, there wasn't no bus. And on a rainy day, well, here come a kid down the road just a hollering, singing on, carrying on. And well, it'd be pouring down and raining, and we go to the school, and we have muddy shoes. Our clothes just be wet. We'd be sitting in the desk.
I remember my mother was working, but we didn't get to eat till about 9 o'clock at night even. You know, bring home some bologna so we could eat, wake us up, eat supper.
A lot of us still burned kerosene lamps. That was the only lighting we had. A lot of us still got our water from water wells. We didn't have running water. And you know, when you speak with Native Americans about pre-war, you're talking about people who still lived in rather primitive conditions. And so a lot of the things that were happening in other parts of the world just made no impact because we didn't have the means to observe that.
We didn't know too much about, I didn't anyway, about world events until Pearl Harbor happened, you know, and then that woke everybody up, I guess.
I ask that the Congress declare that since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by Japan on Sunday, December 7th, 1941, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire.
I'd heard about the Japanese bombing Pearl Harbor, but I guess I didn't know too much about history. I didn't even know where Pearl Harbor was, and never had heard of it.
Fortunately, one of my roommates had a radio, and so I was listening to the music and doing my studying, and then all of a sudden, this voice came in and said that Pearl Harbor had been bombed. Well, I didn't have any idea where Pearl Harbor was, and I could not understand why it was so important that they break in on this musical program and deliver this message.
Well, like I say, we didn't have no kind of radio where we could hear what was going on. It was more or less neighbors discussing, telling, you know.
I went to the show that afternoon, and when I got back up to the campus, I don't know who the person was, but some student told me that they bombed Pearl Harbor.
He said, Japanese has bombed Pearl Harbor. We had war with Japan. Now he says, speaking to us recruits that just joined the company, he said, no, you just came in the company. This is where you show your stuff. You know, it's going to be real McCoy.
And that's what I say. Oh man, just feel like just feel like if you had died, that whole warm feeling just goes over your whole body. You knew you was going to be taken sometime or another.
And when I got drafted, well, gosh, Lord, said, I don't know anything about fighting, don't know anything about it. You see them tanks and everything, you know, and and I tell you, it's going to be something I don't know nothing about.
Maybe 5 of us in our community, went. So the community always had services for their boys in service overseas.
Well, my mother, she was hurt, but when I get about ready to go overseas, well, I told her forget that I was here, just worry about these other boys, because I know that I wasn't coming back.
I told my mother I'm going, and she just said, well, good luck, I guess, and hope you make it all right,
Mother said, well, she had a boy already in there already. She said there was enough worry about him being in there already. And now she said, I'm going to go, she said. And so she said she just about got sick over it.
A lot of the time of day, I just shake hands with you and just turn around. Just couldn't take it.
My aunt, too, when I was getting ready to go to town, being Indian, they have waves, and she had a little buckskin bag made up. She had a string on it, and she said, here, I want you to wear this. She said, wear it all the time. She said, you'll never be thirsty. And she gave me that when I left. And I wore that thing every day, I think, till I got home.
Oh, my uncle, when he was taking me to town, he said, he was talking Creek, it wasn't like this. He said, when you're going to become a soldier, he said, you're going to have to carry a gun.
Well, that's going to wrap us up for this week. We hope everybody enjoyed what you saw here today, and we know you do. You enjoy what you see every week. We know that because we're the only show out there putting out this Native American news in Green Country and doing it the right way. So we appreciate your continued watching of the show, and we'll be right back here next week at 1:30 p.m. right here on Tulsa CW 1219 for Native News Today. We're going to make it a good week. You guys do the same.